93% of women who genuinely feel attraction will never explicitly express it. Instead, they communicate this through subtle signals that most men entirely overlook. Now, here's where it gets intriguing. A recent 2023 study from the University of Kansas revealed that men accurately recognize a woman's attraction only 45% of the time. That's even worse than a coin toss. But what if I told you that as a woman, I'm about to provide you with the exact keys to understanding those hidden attraction signals? The signals we unconsciously emit, the ones that are impossible to fake, and the ones that convey desires we sometimes don't even acknowledge ourselves. These aren't the obvious cues that everyone discusses. They are the secret psychological indicators that women show when their attraction runs deeply. So, here's something that most relationship coaches won't share. And honestly, it might embarrass many women that I'm revealing this. Female attraction isn't arbitrary. It follows recognizable psychological patterns that have been thoroughly studied by behavioral scientists, anthropologists, and evolutionary psychologists for decades. The challenge is that much of this research remains locked away in academic journals that go unread, while clickbait articles repeatedly circulate the same old advice about how she twirls her hair or chuckles at your jokes. Those surface-level observations completely miss the essence. Because true attraction, the kind that makes a woman think about you at 2 a.m, the kind that sends a thrill through her stomach when your name pops up on her phone, leaves very clear breadcrumbs behind. As someone who has experienced this firsthand and closely studied the psychology that underpins it, I'm going to unveil 7 of the most hidden, reliable, and telling signs that she secretly longs for you. But I need you to focus carefully, because sign number 5 is one that entirely contradicts what most dating advice typically suggests. And sign number 7, that one is so subtle that even the woman experiencing it may not realize what she's disclosing. Before we dive in, I want you to mentally picture one woman right now, someone you've been pondering over. Keep her in mind as we explore these signs, and you might genuinely be surprised by what you discover. The first hidden sign is known as the vocal frequency shift. This one is incredibly interesting because it occurs completely outside of conscious control. When a woman feels real attraction toward someone, her voice naturally changes. I'm not referring to that exaggerated sweetness some people adopt. That's actually a sign of manipulation, not attraction. I'm talking about something much more nuanced. Research published in the journal Evolution and Human Behavior shows that women unconsciously alter their vocal pitch when conversing with men they find appealing. The twist? The direction of this shift varies depending on the type of attraction involved. If a woman views you as romantically and physically desirable, her voice often becomes a bit breathier with subtle pitch variations. Not dramatically higher or lower, but distinctly different. Dr. Susan Hughes, a psychologist who specializes in evolutionary vocal communication, found that these vocal changes are exceptionally challenging to mimic, as they are regulated by the autonomic nervous system, the same system that governs blushing and pupil dilation. So, when you talk to a woman, if her voice takes on this quality that feels different from her typical tone with others, something significant is happening beneath the surface. Here's a practical way to recognize this. Pay attention to how she interacts with other people versus how she engages with you. If there's a noticeable difference, even one that's hard to articulate, your subconscious is picking up on attraction signals that her conscious mind might not even be fully aware she's emitting. This is something I personally didn't comprehend I did until a friend pointed it out to me years ago. I was quite embarrassed, but it validated the research. Now the second sign is what I've termed the proximity paradox, and it requires observing patterns rather than isolated moments. When a woman is genuinely attracted to someone, she will find reasons to position herself close while simultaneously maintaining plausible deniability about her motives. Once you understand this, it's psychological gold. Let me illustrate how this plays out in real situations. She might frequently pick a seat that's nearest to you in group settings. Not right next to you, as that would be too obvious, but strategically close. If you mention going to a specific cafe for coffee, don't be surprised if she suddenly develops an interest in their lattes. The captivating psychology behind this can be traced back to Dr. Helen Fisher's research on the neuroscience of attraction. When we're drawn to someone, our brains actually become fixated on being near them, lighting up reward centers in anticipation of that proximity. However, social conditioning teaches women to avoid appearing overly eager or readily available. Thus, the paradox arises. She craves closeness but must create the impression that it's coincidental. The key indicators are consistency paired with weak justifications. If she keeps showing up near you, and her reasons for being there seem somewhat contrived, like saying, "Oh, I just happened to be in this area," or "I didn't realize you were here," take note. The universe doesn't grant that many coincidences. She's orchestrating closeness while guarding her ego against potential rejection. This sign becomes particularly evident when combined with what anthropologists call spatial anchoring. During conversations, she'll position herself within what social psychologists define as the intimate zone around 18 inches away, even if there's ample room to maintain a standard social distance. If you take a step back, notice what happens. A woman who is attracted will unconsciously close that gap once again. The third sign, which honestly surprised me when I learned about it, is known as the memory archive phenomenon. When a woman feels genuine attraction, her brain essentially sets up a priority filing system for information related to you. She'll remember tiny, seemingly insignificant details from your conversations. Details likely lost on you. A study from the University of California found that emotional arousal during conversations significantly boosts memory encoding. Attraction induces a mild state of pleasant emotional arousal, meaning that conversations with someone you're drawn to are encoded more deeply and accurately than everyday chats. So here's how this plays out. 3 weeks ago, you casually mentioned you prefer almond milk in your coffee. You might have forgotten you said it, but she references it later. "Oh, I remembered you can't have regular dairy, right?" Or you mentioned your dog's name once, and months later she asks, "How's Charlie doing?" She's not stalking your social media. Her brain has flagged you as significant and is actively capturing and storing information accordingly. This sign is very tough to fake because it requires sincere attention. A woman who's simply being polite or friendly might retain the broad strokes of your conversations, but won't recall the level of detail that indicates genuine interest. The more obscure the details she remembers, the stronger the signal of her attraction. What fascinates me about this phenomenon is that most women who exhibit it aren't even consciously aware they're doing so. They're not taking mental notes, thinking, "I'll remember this to show him I care." Instead, their brains are doing it automatically, since evolution has wired us to closely track information about potential partners we deem valuable. When a woman's memory becomes an accurate tool specifically regarding you, that's not mere friendship, it's attraction at a neurological level. Now we're venturing into an area that some dating coaches completely misconstrue, so pay close attention. Sign number 4 is the protective jealousy response. But it's not what you might anticipate. I'm not referring to dramatic jealousy, possessiveness, or anything toxic. Instead, I'm addressing micro-expressions of discomfort that fleetingly appear on her face or in her body language when other women give you attention. Research on mate-guarding behavior indicates that humans, irrespective of gender, exhibit slight protective responses when potential romantic rivals surface. For women experiencing covert attraction, this manifests in specific ways. Her posture may stiffen slightly if an attractive woman approaches you. She might suddenly seem more engrossed in her phone, or quieter in conversations, or even position herself subtly between you and the other woman without realizing she's doing it. Dr. David Buss, a leading evolutionary psychologist, has documented that these jealousy micro-responses can emerge even before a person has consciously recognized their own feelings. In other words, her protective behavior might reveal an attraction she hasn't even acknowledged to herself. The crucial distinction here is subtlety. A woman with unhealthy tendencies might display overt jealousy regardless of genuine attraction. However, a healthy woman experiencing authentic hidden attraction will exhibit brief, controlled flashes of discomfort that she quickly suppresses because she's aware she has no right to feel that way. You're not together after all. So observe these moments closely. Does her demeanor shift when you mention other women? Does she seem to pay closer attention to tales about your female friends? Does she make subtle comments designed to minimize your interest in someone else? These aren't manipulation tactics if they stem from sincere attraction. Rather, they are involuntary responses reflecting her fear of losing access to someone she cherishes. Now, let's discuss the sign I mentioned earlier that completely contradicts traditional dating wisdom. This is vital information. Sign number 5 is what I call the contradiction signal, and it may initially seem counterintuitive. When a woman feels intense, genuine attraction, she may sometimes create distance, appear inconsistent, or even seem a bit cold. Most dating advice would interpret this as rejection, but psychological research paints a different picture. This phenomenon is rooted in what psychologists term approach avoidance conflict. When something is exceedingly desirable but also presents emotional risk, the human brain produces contradictory behaviors. Intense attraction is psychologically threatening. It exposes us to vulnerability. For many women, that sense of vulnerability triggers protective mechanisms. Thus, she might be warm and engaged one day, then slightly distant the next. She might appear interested during your conversation, but take longer to respond to texts afterward. She may laugh at your jokes and maintain eye contact in person, then seem casual and brief over messages. In most cases, this isn't about playing games, it's about internal conflict manifesting in external behaviors. Researchers at UCLA studying attachment styles found that individuals who experience strong attraction often adjust their behavior to shield themselves from rejection. The stronger her attraction to you, the more emotionally she has to lose, leading her brain to attempt to maintain protective distance. Here's how you might identify this pattern. If her inconsistencies follow a rhythm, warmth followed by distance, followed by warmth, you're likely witnessing approach avoidance in motion. True disinterest looks different. A woman genuinely unimpressed will maintain a consistent, casual distance without fluctuation. The emotional charge that creates the contradictions simply isn't present. I'll be honest, as a woman, I've done this myself when I felt strongly for someone. Looking back, the more I was attracted, the more erratically I behaved since the stakes seemed so high. It wasn't logical, but attraction isn't always rational. Sign number 6 is beautifully revealing, yet most men completely overlook it when it occurs. I refer to it as the future projection slip. This happens when a woman unconsciously starts including you in her future scenarios, often in ways that may seem casual but hold psychological significance. Dr. John Gottman, the esteemed relationship researcher, found that one of the strongest indicators of romantic commitment is the natural inclusion of another person in future-oriented thinking. When a woman feels attracted, her brain begins to envision futures that include you. This might surface in seemingly offhand comments. "Oh, when that concert happens next month, you'll love the opening band." Notice she's not inviting you, she's assuming your presence at a future event. Or, when she says, "We should try that restaurant sometime," it's done naturally, without awkwardness, because in her mind, spending time with you in the future is already a given. The slip part is crucial. These aren't deliberate statements intended to convey interest. They're unconscious verbalizations of internal assumptions she's forming. The more specific the future projections, the stronger the signal. When summer comes, is moderate. When your sister visits next month, we could show her around together, is significant. She's noting your life events and envisioning herself alongside you. And now, for the final and most covert sign of all. This one is so subtle that even the woman experiencing it often doesn't recognize what she's revealing. It's called the third-party revelation. When a woman discusses you with her friends, family, or anyone in her close circle, her feelings of attraction are substantial. However, she will seldom, if ever, tell you directly that she's been talking about you. The evidence tends to appear in other ways. Her friends may know things about you that she shouldn't have had much reason to share unless you were significant. Mutual acquaintances might offer you slightly knowing glances. She might mention something about you while saying, "I was telling someone about," before she quickly catches herself and refrains from revealing who. Research on female social bonding shows that women often clarify and validate their romantic feelings through external discussions. So when hints of these conversations arise, you're not merely seeing attraction, you're witnessing attraction that she is emotionally engaged in. Here's the subtle clue. If she seems slightly embarrassed when it becomes apparent that she's been discussing you, or if she quickly downplays the extent of what she shared, the attraction is profound. Women don't engage in extensive conversations about individuals they feel indifferent toward. If you've entered her discussions with her close circle, you've entered her realm of emotional consideration. So there you have it. 7 hidden signs that reveal genuine attraction. The type that operates beneath the surface and often beyond conscious awareness. The vocal frequency shift. The proximity paradox. The memory archive phenomenon. The protective jealousy response. The contradiction signal. The future projection slip. And the third-party revelation. Now, I want you to do something. Recall that woman you thought of at the start of this video and run through these 7 signs, honestly assessing how many apply to your scenario. Because if multiple signs resonate, you're not just dealing with casual friendliness, you're confronting someone whose psychology is signaling real attraction. Speaking of signals you might be overlooking, there's a video appearing on your screen right now titled 7 Hidden Signs She Secretly Craves You, Powerful Female Attraction Psychology Explained, which delves even deeper into comprehending these dynamics. If this information altered your perspective, that video will tie everything together in ways you genuinely need to discover. Click on it now, because understanding attraction psychology isn't just intriguing, it could mean the difference between recognizing real opportunities and letting them slip by completely unnoticed.